give life, you are love. You bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. And great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is David Hickman. I'm a pastor here at Creek Street Church. We're here today to remember the life that was James William Watson. And James leaves behind 4 children. That is Ben, Kate, Rose, and Tim, and 7 grandchildren: Sam, Matt, Kirsty, Bethany, Laura, Sarah, and William. On behalf of the family, I would like to thank everyone for your attendance today. Your attendance shows the love that you have for James and the respect and how James has actually touched your life. We're here to honour and remember James, to remember his life and the different ways that he touched each and every one of us. He was important to all of us, and while James is no longer with us, his memory will live on through us. This service is important for us all. It gives James the honour that he deserves as one who is made in God's image. It gives the family permission to grieve, and it also gives us the chance to grieve with them, but also show our sympathy and support during this time of loss. I'm going to read a poem here that says that is entitled "We Remember Him." When we are weary and when we are in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember Him. When we have joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on Him, we remember Him. At the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, at the opening of the buds and at the rebirth of spring, we remember Him. At the blueness of the sky and the warmth of summer, at the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember Him. At the rising of the sun and its setting, we remember Him. As long as we live, He too will live, for He is now a part of us. We remember Him. You know, I'm reminded of Ecclesiastes 3, which is written by what the Bible says is the wisest man to ever live. And this particular part of this chapter is entitled A Time for Everything. To everything there is a season and a time to everything and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to pluck up what has been planted. A time to kill, a time to heal. A time to break down, a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to get and a time to give. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to render and a time to soar. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love, a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. I'm just going to now do the eulogy of James, and this is from the family. Now, James William Watson was born to Travis and Jeanette Watson on the 5th of June 1925 at 5 pounds and 6 ounces, and passed away late at night at Bayside Nursing Home peacefully in his sleep on the 6th of July 2006. James, or Jimmy as he was more commonly known amongst his friends, brought much joy into the world and to the house especially of both of his parents. Even as a child, he very early showed his eagerness to get out and about, and as soon as he started crawling, he was off, as was much of Jimmy, who found it very difficult to sit still. At the age of 5, Jim started school at St Mary's Primary School here in Bendigo. To the stress of his mother Janet, it nearly was his actual last day. Jimmy was so excited about going to school that as soon as he jumped out of the car, he didn't worry about the road, just ran straight for the school. And if it wasn't for another mother grabbing Jimmy, it may have been his first day and also his last. School was a fun place for Jimmy, and even though he didn't enjoy classes, PE and lunch and recess were some of his favourite times, and he would have many friends during that time. His teachers would often say, all Jimmy needs is a ball, and he's got friends and fun in no time. As Jimmy went through his primary school years at St Mary's Primary School, he met his future wife, Kathleen. He remembers the day very clearly. He entered into class and looking across the classroom thinking, oh my goodness, I have seen an angel, as he would say. And he was, of course, talking of Kathleen. And it would be often said to his friends that, one day I'm going to marry that girl. For Jimmy's secondary schooling, he went to Catholic College Bendigo, and this was quite a big step for him. As coming from a small school, Jimmy went to Catholic College, which was about 2,000 students, of which about 750 were just in his year level. At this school, this is where he found some of his lifelong friends, Tim and Jack, who he played footy, cricket, and anything else to do with the ball. These three were inseparable. They would go off together all the time. Much of the time, probably when they should have been in class, they were off doing stuff. They would love fishing, building forts, all of that sort of thing. And in fact, I think one time they were off fishing, probably when they were supposed to be in class. And they decided, let's go out. And where they were at a lake, and they saw a better spot over this fence. So Jack and Tim jumped over the fence and threw their gear over. And Jimmy, thinking, I'm going to show these two up, started running towards the fence, leaped. And as he's in the middle of the air, he's thinking to himself, man, this is the best idea I've ever had. I'm going to show these two up. And then partway through, he realised, hang on a minute, my head is heading awfully fast towards the ground. Then he realised that his feet had clipped the top of the gate, and he's falling face first towards the ground and lands in a cow pat straight in his face, much to the absolute laughter and hysterical moments of Tim and Jack, and later on Jimmy as well. Upon finishing Catholic College Bendigo, Jimmy went off to Bendigo Senior College. However, during this time, World War II had been going for a few years, and he decided, as well as some of his friends, that he would go off and join the army. Now, at that stage, he was only 17 years of age, and as was the thing to do back then, most of them lied about their age in order to serve their country. Upon returning from war, James would very rarely talk about his time over there. James was given the Pacific Star for his service in the Pacific, and the French and German Star for his service in Europe after D-Day. He would often march at Anzac Day marches, and he would say that he'd be marching for his mates who didn't make it home. His family was very, very proud of his service for his country. Upon coming home, Jimmy met his wife, Kathleen, and they were married and had 4 children: Ben, Kate, Rose, and Tim. He started working as a builder, and after completing his apprenticeship, he decided he went about building the family home. He also went and helped Ben and Kate and helped build their house. And some of his fondest memories of that time was building Ben's house. And I know Ben has also got some incredibly fond memories of his father assisting him to build his family home. James was very proud of all of his children and wanted them to know that they were very much loved and cared for. Kathleen was the love of his life. He loved her deeply, and the hardest day of his life was when Kathleen passed away. And it's kind of fitting that 1 year after, on the 1 year anniversary of Kathleen's death, that he now returns to her. They brought up their kids in a loving and respectful home. James would do anything for Kathleen. One time Kathleen asked him to pull down the garage in order to build a veggie garden, of which he couldn't understand why she needed an extra veggie garden based on the one he'd already built her. But as was the love that James had for Kathleen, that he pulled down the garage and gave it and built the veggie garden to her. One of the things that the children remember most about their dad was going to the footy. Now, Jim was a huge Collingwood supporter. His eldest 2 kids he also convinced to be Collingwood supporters. This was much to the dislike of his wife, who got the next 2, who followed Essendon. Well, this would bring about a great rivalry. Whenever Collingwood would play Essendon, there would be a bit of a family bet that would go on that the loser would need to do the dishes, the cleaning, the washing for the entire week that next following week. As you can imagine, these games got quite competitive and quite intense. However, it is this memory and these memories that they will forever know and remember about James and being such a great father. Ben would say he taught me and my brother Tim how to play golf and lawn bowls and cricket and footy. He would often take us out fishing or camping. And James was also an active member of the Golden Square Lawn Bowls Club, of which we have some members here today, and we want to thank you for your attendance here today. James loved his grandchildren and was loved by them. He leaves behind 7 grandchildren: Sam, Matt, Kirsty, Bethany, Laura, Sarah, and William. And it will be sad that Pop is no longer with us. All of his grandchildren know that he loved each and every one of them and cared about them deeply. James will be remembered as a loyal friend, a loving husband, one-of-a-kind father, and special Pop. When you see a person's final resting place, there are 3 things that are common amongst that particular area. First of all is their name. And second of all are 2 dates. First one being when they were born, and the second one being when they passed away. But the third thing often is overlooked, yet it is the most important, and that is the little dash between those 2 dates. You see, that dash represents a life. It represents a legacy. It represents a memory. And it is this dash that is etched between these two dates that we will forever remember. You see, it isn't necessarily the dates that we remember when they were born and when they passed away, but it is the life that is lived in that dash that we remember the most. Following this committal service, the family would like to invite you for some light refreshments and a time to share stories of Jimmy's life. The family will be spending some time alone by themselves at a cremational service that they will be having, and then following they will be back here not too long after that. So they would like everyone to please stick around, enjoy some refreshments, and share some stories. If you haven't already signed the registry, the family would love for you to do that so that they know who is here to show their support. And we're now going to commit James's body back to God in this time. Here we commit James's body to the ground, ashes to ashes, earth to earth, dust to dust. The spirit we leave to God, as this is the end of all living, and we know that in His time, God will bring us to Him at our own death. So let us commit ourselves here to do good with all of our might, with whatever our hand finds to do, in a time that remains to each one of us. James, may you rest in peace. Thank you.